Hello, horror lovers. Today we'll be sharing with you a legend that has terrorized Mexico's driver for a long time. The Spectre we'll be talking adopts the shape of a very beautiful woman who appears at night on solitary roads. It will stop driving down those roads by asking them for help, and when the Spectre gets into their vehicle, it will reveal its monstrous appearance with the horse's head and rotten flesh. It is said that those who offer to give her a ride and have bad intentions die pretty soon. That was the story of Angelo, a married man from the province of Monterrey. The relationship with his wife had been going downhill for a while now, and 2 years ago they lost their son while she was pregnant. From then on, Angelo would come home from work, greet his wife, watch TV all evening, and then fall asleep while watching it. Every single day. One day at the office, his coworker Jose suggested that they went to have a drink after work. At first, Angelo rejected the invitation, but after thinking about it more thoroughly, he had been depressed for a long time, so maybe it would be a good idea. He called his wife and told her he wouldn't come home that night. They agreed to meet at 10 o'clock at a bar located on the outskirts, and each one drove there on their own. They agreed to drink very little, since driving back could be dangerous if they were drunk. Angelo's jaw dropped as he observed the environment. There was a special show that night. He started to drink without wanting to look. He was feeling bad for his wife. Meanwhile, Jose, who is single, after 3 drinks, managed to convince his coworker to have a good time, with no strings attached. At 4 in the morning, after getting in the car to go back home, he started to feel tormented for what he had done. Just thinking about his wife spending the entire night talking with other men, just like he had done but with women, made his blood boil. On his way back to the city, he couldn't see clearly his GPS, nor the road ahead due to the alcohol. He took a wrong turn and arrived at a dirt road. He kept going, seeing if he could find a place to turn back, when suddenly he saw a silhouette at about 50 meters from the car. Angelo approached the silhouette slowly. If he accelerated, he could end up out of the road. He rubbed his eyes after pressing the brake. He must have been seeing an illusion. On the dirt road there was a gorgeous woman, white as snow. Her face was oval-shaped, with big black eyes, her lips red like blood, and with dark curly hair. He rolled down the window, and the sweetest voice he had ever heard asked him with a shy tone if he could take her to the city. In his thoughts, the temptation had already won, and whatever happened, Angelo would feel like a huge winner if he managed to get her phone number. A few minutes before, he was regretting his actions at the bar, which could hurt his wife, but at that moment, his impulses were more powerful. He managed to turn around and started to drive back to the city with the young woman on board. 5 minutes later, the car started to smell really bad. That made him come back to reality, and he noticed that only he was speaking. So he decided to stay silent and let his female passenger talk. In response, all he heard was a strong puff, so he turned his head to the shotgun seat. Angelo was now pale and couldn't even scream. Instead of the beautiful feminine face, in front of him was green and decomposing the horse's face, which slowly plunged towards him. The next day, the news appeared in all Mexican media. The 5th victim of the Segua, another corpse with its eyes out of their sockets, has appeared outside of Monterrey.
It was the year 1908 at the Merino Street in Puebla, Mexico. In that location was a pawn shop known as the Villa Trading House. The owner was one of the richest men in the entire country and was famous for taking advantage of people and for his rudeness. The government backed him up by turning a blind eye to his scams so long as they received a portion of the profits. And with their help, he managed to become rich at the expense of the poorest of people. He would take hold of their few belongings and would then charge them insane interest rates. And he wasn't just a bad person, he was pretty negligent with his physical appearance too. He was bald and overweight, boasting a fat and round body. And not only that, but everyone who visited his pawn shop would be shocked when seeing his fat hands, covered in thick and black hair. However, the man was not ashamed of his hands and would constantly wear on them and flaunt many golden rings with precious stones. Everyone in the town hated that man, but many had to endure his scams in order to pay their debts. And every day, people who passed in front of his business would mumble against him, saying things like, "One of these days, I hope your hand just withers." However, him and his wife from inside the pawn shop would laugh at their insults while flaunting the many coins they had earned. And then, a few years later, the owner of that pawn shop passed away. His wife bought the cheapest coffin she could find and moved to the city with all his money. Nobody came to his funeral, only the priest in charge of the ceremony and the gravedigger. And then, at midnight on the night of the funeral, something started to come out of the man's grave. It was a dark hand covered not only in hair but also jewels. It started to crawl on the ground, getting to the streets and terrifying everyone who would bump into it. The hand would climb onto their faces like a spider and shove its fingers in their eyes until tearing them out of their eye sockets. And then it would strangle its victims until killing them, who would fall to the floor with a horrified expression and their necks bruised. Hours later, the hand went back to its grave to rest along the man's corpse. But that would not be the last time it would come out. People still say that if you are wandering around the beautiful city of Puebla in the wee hours of the night, you'll be in great danger of being attacked by the fuzzy hand. There are many legends that originate from Latin America, and we love them. So today, we'll go to Mexico to tell you the legend of the Devil's Casino. Have you ever heard about it? It all happened in the city of Hermosillo, Sonora, in the 50s. There lived a girl named Linda. Like all other young people in the city, she looked forward to go to the big New Year's party, which would be celebrated at the casino for the wealthiest families in the city. Linda had planned everything. She would wear a precious dress, her white shoes, and a beautiful hairstyle. She dressed up with the utmost care and spent many hours getting ready. Once she was ready, Linda looked at herself in the mirror and couldn't believe what she saw. The big day had arrived and she looked beautiful. When she was ready to go, she went to say goodbye to her mother. However, Linda's mother, who had been sick for years, forbid her from going to that party. Linda's father supported his wife's decision, and the young girl felt completely devastated. She spent a good while crying in her room and cursing her family. However, being 16 years old, she didn't just accept that no for an answer and decided to escape through her window. Then, as soon as she arrived to the party, everyone's attention turned to her. She looked beautiful, and many boys approached her to have a dance with her, but she rejected them all. Until far away, she saw a very handsome boy who caught her attention. He had black hair, gorgeous green eyes, and was wearing a very elegant suit. Nobody knew who he was, but he soon approached Linda. He asked her for a dance, and she quickly accepted. Together, they went to the dance hall while everyone looked at them. However, a few minutes later, she noticed something strange. For some reason, the hand of the boy was burning her back. She'd never felt something like that before. How could it be possible? That burning sensation increased so much that she couldn't help but let out a cry and back away. That's when she saw the feet of that mysterious boy. One was a rooster's foot and the other one was a goat's foot. All the guests were speechless at that sight, and the boy then rushed to the bathroom. Minutes later, a strong smell of sulfur impregnated the entire casino, and then there was an explosion. The entire casino was engulfed in flames, and soon the surviving guests started to spread the word that that strange being had been the devil himself. Nobody knew what happened to the beautiful girl, so most assumed the devil had taken her with him. Only some building walls remained after that disaster, which can still be seen from the city. Some say that witchcraft rituals are performed in those ruins, but nobody knows for sure since nobody dares to go there, out of fear that the devil may reappear. What do you think? Is this legend true? Let us know in the comments. Welcome back, horror lovers. Many years ago in Tabasco, at the Conception Plaza, lived a woman named Beltrana who had a very good reputation in the town. She was very hardworking and a devoted believer as well. She had a daughter named Maria Violeta, a beautiful young woman with many admirers. However, unlike her mother, Maria Violeta was very rebellious. She would escape at night to party, drink alcohol, and have flings with different men. Eventually, Maria Violeta's ill reputation in the town reached her mother's ears, and since Beltrana was so devoted, she couldn't allow her neighbors to have such a bad concept of her own daughter. So she tried talking with Maria Violeta on many occasions, but the daughter kept on having the same attitude and behavior. Thus, seeing her daughter wasn't changing, Beltrana decided to start punishing her physically using a whip. Whenever her daughter disobeyed her and every night she escaped to party, Beltrana would fiercely whip her. But that didn't do anything, besides making Maria Violeta become more and more rebellious. Then one night, when Maria was coming back home in the wee hours of the night, her mother was waiting for her with the whip, ready to punish her. However, Maria Violeta's drunkenness, combined with the rage for all the whipping she had endured, led her to snatch the whip from her mother's hand and use it against her. But then the whip suddenly transformed into a 6-meter-long red snake. It coiled around Maria Violeta's body and crushed her. The snake broke all of her bones and turned her body into a bloody mush. And after killing Maria, the huge snake escaped from the house and quickly advanced through the streets, finally plunging into the waters of the Grijalba River, where it disappeared. Beltrana became unable to speak after that incident, but a few months later, just before dying, she managed to speak again and revealed what happened to her daughter. The legend says that the 6-meter-long red snake that killed Maria is still alive. They say that it still lives in the waters of the Grijalba River, waiting for the right time to come out and claim another victim. Today, we travel to Mexico to tell you the legend of the Doghouse. It is about the life of Jesus Flores, a widowed coffee grower who at 70 years old was very tired of living alone. He was desperate to find a life companion, so he asked several women to marry him. Don Jesus lived on Santo Domingo Street. Very close to his house lived a widowed woman with 3 beautiful daughters. The family was well known in the area. They were dedicated to sewing and had a reputation of very good workmanship. The eldest of the sisters married a handsome and wealthy gentleman. The middle one, Elodia, very beautiful, was courted by Don Jesus, but she rejected him to marry a rich potter from Tlaquepaque. In the end, it was quite normal, since Don Jesus was already in his old age. It was said in town that as a young man he was very handsome, but that was lost with time. What he did not lose was the money, which grew and grew without stopping in his safe. This did not go unnoticed by Ana, the third of the widow's daughters. He had never noticed her before, but after the young woman made herself noticed, he soon asked her to marry him. The young woman had very clear ideas, so soon after her marriage, she asked her husband to build a second floor in the house. Only wealthy families could afford something like that, and she wanted to be seen. Don Jesus quickly got to work on the house. To top it off, Ana commissioned 2 sculptures that came directly from New York. They were 2 huge dogs in the 2 corners of the facade. This christened the House of Dogs. But soon, rumors began to surface in town. Don Jesus entrusted his business to a gentleman named José Cuervo. He was a hard-working and very skilled man who managed day after day to multiply his master's fortune. And he was also young. That is why it was rumored that he and his master's wife were having an affair. Not much later, Don Jesus passed away, and therefore Doña Ana was left a widow. But she could not stand the loneliness, so she quickly ran into the arms of her deceased husband's employee. Meanwhile, he continued to build up the family fortune by working hard. They planned to get married, but weeks before the day set for the wedding, strange episodes began to happen at the Doghouse. Suddenly, voices seemed to come from beyond the grave. Lights flickered, doors opened and closed on their own. Everything indicated that someone wanted to scare the people who lived there. Would it be Don Jesus? The new lovers, frightened by everything that was happening there, ended up building a new house. There they went to live their romance, far from that mansion where the widow had all the memories of her deceased husband. They sold the property in a few months, but the new owner did not stay there long and ended up abandoning it. The reason is not known, although we can imagine that paranormal events had a lot to do with it. At that time, a legend began to circulate in the city. It was said that whoever prayed a novena at the mausoleum of Don Jesus Flores would receive the deeds to the House of Dogs as a prize. He had to do it at 12 o'clock at night, taking a candle as his only companion. Knowing the great economic value of the house, there were many who tried to carry it out. But no one succeeded, because when they were about to finish, a voice from beyond the grave answered the prayer. Then the person was frightened and ran away. Some even ended up fainting and someone else would pick them up the next day. It seems clear that Don Jesus did not want anyone else to live there, and he succeeded because the house was uninhabited until years later it became a printing press and museum. Do you believe in haunted houses? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. And if you want to see more Draw My Life horror videos, subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode.